Today I like to make a roller texture again. It's gonna be a bottle shape, and I'm gonna use this MKM roller. The number of this roller is RM047. Okay, roller that I picked up from NCCA last March. And I like this texture. The very first thing when I'm centering, I usually like to push the corner so the corner is sealed so the water doesn't go sliding. I brace my arm here on the splash pan, and I don't usually squeeze the clay skyrocket, very high, and then try to push down. You don't need to do that unless you don't wedge your clay. But usually I like to wedge my clay before I start it. The theory of squeeze it high and then push down, people call that wedge in the clay on the wheel. I don't need to do that because I already wedge on the table. So instead of pushing in the sky high, I actually pushing down the clay and using my right fingertip to squeeze the clay around. The right fingertip is very powerful, and I usually do that. Okay, so the whole piece is centered. And then open. I usually use one right thumb and squeeze it, and with my left thumb helping to push further. Make a little opening, a little indentation there, and then I'm using my left finger to squeeze it down. Okay, when drilling it in, I usually fold my finger like that. I don't like to curve my fingers, so it's naturally stretch my fingertip and then using this part to squeeze it down. Okay, and with my right hand hold it on the side to support it. So when I'm drilling it in, like this is my left hand, I usually use my right hand to compress the wall, so you don't lose the center. I don't lose my center when I'm drilling it. So both hands is kind of compressing the wall while I'm drilling it down. And push it all the way till about the right thickness, and then start to open it. You don't open it at the beginning. You don't widen it at the beginning. Okay, you drill all the way down till the right thickness, and then you widen it. So now I am widening my base. Now I'm doing the compressing. My fingertip is compressing back and forth, left and right. Okay, done with compressing, And I'm going to keep my cylinder narrow since I'm making a bottle shape. So I'm using the right fingertip and squeeze it, the bottom corner. Okay, push it in so the base is smaller now. And then since the clay is fairly thick here, so I'm going to use my right fingertip on the inside and do the lifting. The outside is kind of supporting and pushing, so it's that the finger is pushing the clay against my right hand and then raising and move it up. Okay, push that clay against my right hand and then raise it, and with my both hand goes all together. People usually wondering how to make your pieces thinner. The tip for you is that this corner, the inside corner, and this should be at least 90 degrees. Okay, if you have a curve there, so you're gonna end up with too much clay in the corner, bottom corner. So your piece is gonna be very thick. So make sure that you need to at least have 90 degrees there. And since my wall is still fairly thick here, so I'm going to focus here and just try to lift the clay from this portion to thin it down and lift it. Still keeping my cylinder narrow. Okay, now I'm ready to raise the wall from the bottom. I'm removing the slip from my fingertips and then put it back to work, especially on the inside. Outside it's easy to lubricate, just add in a little bit of water. And go back there and grab the slip from the inside and try to coat the slip on the inside of the wall before I lift. Keeping the wall slippery is very important so that you don't have too much friction while you are lifting. slip back to work. Okay, so my cylinder is made, and then I'm going to drop the supporting cardboard cylinder to the inside. So this will be my supporting cardboard cylinder, and I make the opening similar to the size. Okay, similar to the size. Yeah. Widen it a little bit. So before I drop it in, I wrap 2 pieces of a newspaper, and then I used a little slip there to glue it. So on the same line here, I glued it, use a slip, and then this part here, you will have a little bit of wrinkles. Okay, so I don't want this part to squeeze too much wrinkle on the inside bottom corner. So sometimes I wet it. I put it in the water and wet it to soften a little bit. Okay, soften a little bit. Okay, and then just drop in. Okay, so it's perfect. Okay, it's about a little bit less than 1/8 of an inch there, so it's quite perfect to drop in. And then you want to make sure that the wall is fitting tight on the cardboard cylinder, so that you are using this as a support. Okay, so now I'm going to color. Okay, compress then slowly from the base and raise it up. Okay, raise it up. And you want to start to color here, because once it's colored, the air is sealed on the inside. It's very hard to push out the air, so you want to push it out, push it from the base and slowly raise it up. Make sure it is slippery when I'm colored the cylinder, and slowly So when I'm color, push that in, I'm using this 2 parts here mostly. Not too much of a finger, because I don't want to put too many finger marks on the surface, which is going to be hard to remove later. So using the more area here to color to push and squeeze it. Going to make the surface nice and clean, so that when I'm rolling the texture, it will be clear. you will be able to see the texture more clearly. So and the way to hold the wooden rib, if you hold it too straight, usually you will have the tip, or if you hold it this way, the tip will drag a line. So actually when you are using the rib, you can kind of tip over, so basically using the middle section of it, so that the tip or this both tip is away from the cylinder, so you don't drag the line. So you get to here and slowly tip over so that the tips doesn't drag the line. Wooden knife to cut up the corner. I don't need too much clay in the corner, so just cut it up and remove it. Right, so now that's the texture. And to prevent, and first thing, remember when you are using the roller, make sure it's rolling freely, okay? You don't want to have too much there and stuck in the middle, okay? You want to roll it freely, so make sure it is rolling freely. And then to prevent the clay from sticking onto your texture, you can dip it in the water. Okay, make sure it's wet, so it releases that, and you don't have the stick on your texture. And hold on to your support, and then you want to hold at an angle. I would say about 45 degrees. Okay, if you do this, it's hard to control the pressure. Okay, and if you kind of drag like that, it's easier to feel the pressure. So that's why like 45 degrees will be fine. And holding on to your cardboard, and then just go and roll it up. And I don't roll it all the way up because I want to leave a little bit of clay there, so I will be able to make the opening smaller. Okay, so you don't need to go all the way up. Okay, so I got the texture all the way around. Okay, and since I have very good support, so the texture is very deep. Okay, very deep. But now to pour out the cardboard cylinder, don't hold on to the newspaper, okay? If you hold on to the newspaper, it's hard to pull out. So hold on to your cardboard and then try to remove it. Okay. And I told you I have 2 layers of newspaper, so I can go ahead and pull out the inner layer of the paper. And then try to find the inner part of the paper and try to lift from the inner part. And slowly roll it. You can twist the newspaper, twist it. And slowly pull out. Okay. So since the newspaper is absorbing the slit on the inside of the wall, actually the inside of the wall is kind of feel dry. So if you want to stretch it or shape it a little bit, make sure you put a bit of water or a little bit of slip back to the inside of the wall, so it will be slippery for you to stretch it or shape it a bit better. Sponge to put some water on the sponge and then slowly put the water back to the inside of the wall. So I'm taking my time to slowly stretch it, the wall, to shape it. before I close further. Since I use a heat gun to dry a bit more, so I could push the shape a little bit wider. When you try to make the neck, watch out the dripping of the water, so you don't let the water drop onto the side of the wall. So make sure that you can use a sponge, a little bit of sponge there, and just to re-wet it. The rim is a little bit off, so I'm cutting it. Okay, so this is done. You can see that I take quite a bit of time to take care of this part here, the rim. The rim is most important part for your finish work, and I do take almost half of my time just try to make this part right. So be patient and slowly to finish up, and you will have a nice pieces done. Okay, thanks.